Adaptations are everywhere. They follow along the entire spectrum, from good to bad, faithful to in name only, Harry Potter to Dark Phoenix. It's not surprising, really. With the budget going into these movies now, studios want a property with a built in fan base. But if that's the case, can anyone tell me why producers like Steven Spielberg refuse to make a faithful adaptation? And I'm not just talking about the particulars here. I understand that some things, like Spew, can't be done because of time restrictions. But I'm looking at the whole story being different. Y'all, it's time to take a dive into the uncanny valley and talk about Ready Player One. This one's a unique beast. On a scale from good to bad, it rates a solid, yeah, it's fine. But on a faithfulness scale, it's sitting right around the first Percy Jackson movie. On the most surface level there is, it follows the same plot. A guy named Wade is trying to win James Halliday's contest in order to gain control of the Oasis. But if you go any further than that, you find that the similarities end right around there. In Spielberg's chase to make the movie as appealing as possible to everyone, he loses sight of the spirit of the source material. See, in the book, and quick aside here, the book was read by Wil Wheaton for the audiobook, and I highly recommend that you listen to it. He is fantastic. But the book is an ode to 80s pop culture. It used the references as a filter to populate the alien world with familiar imagery, to make the unknown known. It's much easier to say he's playing Pac-Man than to try and create an entirely new game and then explain it to us. But Spielberg didn't see that. When he helped adapt it for the screen, he made almost every single line, every single shot, every single frame into pure reference. It went from an ode to the 80s, something that used them to help us understand, to relying on this nostalgia for a time past as the main selling point, without worrying about how it would change the story. Let's look at the first challenge. In the book, we see that everything takes place in the Oasis, from school to business to hanging out with your friends. It's not just the video game that it is in the movie, it's where most of real life happens. That was one of the dumber changes that the movie made. It was turned into a big game rather than the new reality that it was in the book. This is a huge factor in the first challenge. Parzival is sitting bored in class one day and is thinking about the first riddle of Halliday's challenge, which is: the copper key awaits explorers in a tomb filled with horrors, but you have much to learn if you wish to earn a place among the high scorers. Ernest Cline explains to us that the tomb filled with horrors is referencing the Tomb of Horrors Advanced Dungeons & Dragons module, which, even if the reader doesn't play the game, it's likely they'll at least have a surface level understanding of what he's getting at. It's a dungeon, there's probably traps throughout it, and there will be some big magic thing at the end that Parzival has to fight. We can understand using the framing device that we are given. Then Parzival puts together the rest of it. You have much to learn. He's on a planet filled entirely with schools. Nobody thought to look there because combat is not allowed, and everyone knew that the Tomb of Horrors is going to include a fight. So he enters the tomb, pulls out this module, disables the traps, and manages to get to the end. He expects to find a lich that would normally take 6 to 7 players to defeat, but instead the author has the lich challenge Parzival to a joust. No, that doesn't sound right. To a game of joust. Now, the game could have been anything. I don't even know what joust is, other than Cline told us it's a big arcade game with controls on either side for 2 players. And that's all we need to know. He describes what happens on the screen, but the important part is that Parzival played the game with his friend before and was pretty good at it. It gets around the situation of Parzival being liquefied by death beams from the Lich in a way that's true to the spirit of the book, and in a way that would make sense for the intentions of James Halliday that have already been laid out and will be laid out. Anyway, Parzival beats the Lich 2 games to 1, meets a celebrity that he's going to go full r/nice guys on, and figures out the clue to find the gate that the key unlocks. He goes to a recreation of Halliday's childhood home, becomes the star of War Games in one of the few things that I will say is references steak, but still holds with the spirit and intention of Halliday, and he clears the gate. The whole ordeal took a great deal of knowledge about the things that Halliday liked and made the unknown known for us. And the riddle was presented in a way that the reader would immediately figure out, but it's understandable why it took the Gunters 5 years. Now let's look at the movie. Spielberg changed the entire challenge. Instead of Parzival being in class, we just see him go log into the game because it's almost race time. Right. Instead of a dungeon or anything, it's a race. And there's no good reason given for why. Halliday doesn't have a hankering for some fast driving. It's just changed so that Spielberg could fit as many visual references in as possible. And boy does he deliver. We start off with H driving the monster truck Bigfoot. H then yells about Parzival's something about Mary hairdo. Parzival gets in the DeLorean from Back to the Future, and in fairness, I'm not too upset about this one. I'm pretty sure he drives it in the book as well. When the drivers leave the start line, you can see the A-Team van, the Batman 66 Batmobile. I'm pretty sure I saw Kit from Knight Rider. H tells us the game that Artemis's bike is from. We get a very subtle mention of Twitch. The T-Rex, I'm pretty sure is from Jurassic Park, but I'm not 100% on that one. And then we get King Kong. There's probably so many more that I'm missing, but I think I made my point. None of these are making the unknown known to us. They're just making us go, hey, look, it's the Batmobile. So the challenge that Parzival has to overcome here is that nobody has made the jump at the end of the race because King Kong always catches them and eats them. After a quick stop at the Halliday Archives, he decides to drive backwards, beats the challenge, and opens the gate. Just like that. There's no other challenge he has to complete to open the gate, just stick the key in and walk away. Also, I'm sorry, but how? In 5 years, has nobody gone backwards? That's anywhere between attempt number 2 and number 5 for anyone who's ever played a game before. Personally, I'm going forward twice, once to try and win, once to see if I can get past Kong. I'm hugging the left once, I'm hugging the right once, and then I'm going backwards. There's no realistic way that this challenge took 5 years to complete. So that's basically my issue with this movie. It loses the spirit and the author's intent from the book and becomes how many references can we shove into 2 hours? And look, I'm not saying that the movie is bad. Far from it. The actors turn in decent performances. Ben Mendelsohn is absolutely delightful to watch as Sorrento. It's well shot, and the music, both jukebox and original score, are fantastic. A couple of casting choices I would change are instead of Ty Sheridan as Wade, I would have cast Jacob Batalon, who plays Ned in the Spider-Man movies. And for Halliday, I would have gotten someone like maybe Clooney or Robert Downey Jr., someone who could pull off the video eulogy from the book. Honestly, someone with stage presence. But those changes would mean nothing without the spirit of the book being maintained. Without that, we're left with a spiritless movie that just reminds us of all the other great movies that we could be watching instead. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, a like and subscribe would mean a ton to me. And if you know anyone who you think might also be interested, please do share this with them. And let me know down in the comments, how long would it have taken you to figure out that you need to drive backwards? Anyway, that's it for me. Be safe, wash your hands, and I'll catch you next week.